Well, hey, friends, this is a good buddy of mine. His name is Mark Wright, and he is the owner, right? The owner of Innovative
Yes.
Title Services. He's in Altamonte Springs. His office is in Altamonte Springs, but he services all of Central Florida and probably beyond that. So, Mark, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jonathan. Happy to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Are you getting ready for Thanksgiving?
I definitely am. We have family coming into town. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, good. That sounds like a good time. Hey,
Yes.
real quick, what the heck is a title company?
So, a title insurance company is probably the most misunderstood entity in the real estate transaction because nobody knows what we do or what is involved. So, basically, our deal within the transaction is to make sure that everybody else is doing their job. So, our due diligence is reviewing the background of the property, meaning the history of the property, to find out or indicate if there are any liens or judgments, mortgages, anything outstanding that could come back and hurt the potential buyer in their ownership. That's step number one. Number two is we have to follow the rules and whatever is given within the sales contract. So we want to follow the direction that's been agreed upon by all parties. And then the third step is really the lender side. So if a buyer is a lender involved, we have to make sure we comply with the lender requirements are so that we have a successful closing. So once we get it all put together, then we have the big party at the end, which is everybody meets, signs paperwork, and there's a disbursement.
So you're kind of like a middleman between the buyer and the seller, and sort of like everyone meets together, and then closing usually happens at the title company, right? And so uh,
Yes, closing typically takes place with the title company, but there are circumstances in which buyers and sellers can't be available to come to our office. So we accommodate that with notaries. There is a lot of fraud out there, so we have to be very careful to vet everyone. So if somebody isn't able to come into the office, what we actually do is send a vetted notary to them to make sure that everything's ethical and above board.
gotcha. Now, how long have you been working in title?
So I started in the title insurance business in 1987. So we're going on, what is that, 37, 36, 37 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
So let me ask you this, is there stuff that you come across nowadays that you're like, man, I've never seen that before? Or have you pretty much seen everything and it's just kind of, you know what to do in each situation?
We usually have a pretty good idea what to do in every situation. But I will tell you, even though I've been in this business this long, every day there's a new scenario, I'll call it, that we haven't been exposed to before that we have to find a solution for. So every day is something new. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. We got to put all the pieces together so we have a successful closing. Sometimes it's very easy and sometimes it's very difficult. So, yes.
Now, if someone is wanting to buy a house, do they go to the title company first, or who's the first person they should go to?
My recommendation, if you have a buyer or potential buyer who's looking to purchase a home, the first point of contact is the real estate agent.
Okay.
The agent really has the skill set and the knowledge to give direction to the buyer. And after that point, I think our involvement would be important because, again, we have to hear their story so that we know what to do and how to make their experience successful where they're not too frustrated. Real estate in general is very difficult these days. So dealing with a professional like yourself is really key for success.
Now, my mom has worked with you for many years. I'm new to real estate somewhat. I've been licensed for over a year now, but my mom has worked with you for many years,
Mhm.
and you're the only person that she ever wants to send our customers to. And so
Yeah.
I've sort of adopted that philosophy, and you've been amazing to work with. So I greatly appreciate all the work that you and your team do to help our customers. So for those of you who are watching, if we have a listing that we are selling, then we say to Mark and his team, here you go. Now it's your turn to sort of take over and do all the background work up front to make sure that when we get a buyer that comes in, we sort of already kind of have a pretty good idea of where the property is sitting with title, with liens, with anything that could come up in transaction. And so Mark and his team do a fantastic job of taking care of all that. So we really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. And with that being said, too, part of the caveat of our success is communication. Communication is key
Yeah.
with any real estate transaction, and communication has to be effective. And the best way, we're a little old fashioned, but picking up the phone and actually having a conversation with all of the parties is our key to success, and also answering questions in a timely manner. So much of the industry has gone to email that it loses something. And a lot of times people get frustrated because what they think they are hearing or reading isn't actually what is going on. So it's important to make sure that to have those conversations.
That's right. That's right. Now, if someone's thinking about buying or selling your house, are there different ways that they can save money by working with a title company, or what are some tips that you would have for someone that's wanting to save a little bit of money, or maybe they've owned a house for a while and they don't know about homestead exemption? Talk us through that.
So yes, any potential buyer who's going into a new home, there are many ways for savings. One of them is portability. A lot of people don't understand, if you have sold a home in Florida and you're purchasing another home in Florida, you can port the taxes from your former residence to the new residence and save you a ton of money. Usually it's up to 30% off the tax bill if you're already a Florida resident. And again, experience, knowing the right people, having those conversations makes you successful. Filing homestead is another reason. Filing homestead, of course, gives you $50,000 off the assessed value and saves you money. And again, we send out documentation and some support as a reminder. Don't forget to file your homestead. So many people don't get those reminders. And when you're moving, that's kind of the last thing you think about is what happened at the closing table. It's quick. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of information that comes out of it. And so we try to support our clients with giving them reminders. Also, there's widowers exemptions. There's also exemptions for people that are disabled. And a lot of people don't understand that. If you are 100% disabled, you don't have to pay property taxes in Florida, but you have to qualify. And again, we support people in putting together documentation to support estate planning. If you're elderly and you don't want to go through probate that costs you thousands and thousands of dollars, we might be able to put language in the deed to help offset that. So if there is a death in the family, it automatically goes to the survivor. So everybody has a unique story. We have to hear their story, and then we're able to give them advice based on what they're intending to do. And again, it's unique because not a lot of people do this anymore. We're a little more boutique-y, I'll call it, because we do want to have that relationship with the client. We treat everybody like we would treat ourselves. And again, in this day and age, you don't see that very often anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Now go back to the tax portability and homestead exemption. So you've run into cases where people have not filed for homestead and they've been paying more on their taxes every year?
Yes, we see oftentimes where somebody will come to us and they're getting maybe ready to sell, or they're refinancing, or there's a question. Somebody's led them to us, and we examine what's been going on up to the point of the call to us. And we'll mention to them, did you purposely not file homestead? Was there a situation? And 9 times out of 10, they'll come back to us and say, we didn't know. No one explained it to us. A
And that's
realtor didn't
thousands.
explain it to us. What's that?
That's thousands of dollars every
Thousands.
year, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Same thing with the portability. Portability is great because, again, like for me, I've lived in my house 23 years, and it keeps your taxes on a lower tax basis. The
Gotcha.
longer you live there, the greater the savings. Well, if I go and decide to sell my current home and buy another home in Florida, I can port that basic tax base from this home to the next one. And again, saves you dramatically on the taxes, especially in this day and age when your average sales price is $400,000, $500,000. this is a big savings because your tax bill on that kind of home is going to range between $6,000 and $7,000 a year, and it's going to bring it down into the $3,000 to $4,000 a year. So huge
Unbelievable.
savings.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that, you think of and you're like, man, why aren't they teaching this in schools? Like this kind of thing really affects people as they buy a house, as they, get jobs, as they move into the later phases of life. This is really important stuff that people just don't know about. And so,
That's correct. Again, real estate's somewhat unique because different rules apply to different situations. So it's not like a cookie cutter handbook.
right.
Can give them a book and say, this is the scenario that you're going to experience. So you have to really find out what your client's needs are to understand what needs to take place to basically be successful in the closing, number one, and maybe save them some money in the end.
Okay, that's great. That's all
Yeah.
so good. I mean, it's so helpful. And hopefully, if you're watching this and you don't know if you have homestead exemption, or if you have recently purchased a home, maybe in 2023, and aren't sure if you ported your taxes correctly, how can they find out, Mark? They contact you directly?
Yes, what I would recommend for any individual who's buying a home or selling a home, get in touch with either a local title company or somebody you know. I would first start with the real estate agent because the real estate agents know the good guys versus the ones that maybe not as sharp. So there would be real estate attorneys who are really, their whole practice is real estate,
Right.
or a title insurance company. And for us, our practice is we get a lot of recommendations to call us. It's a free call, free advice. We give them some indication where they need to go. And if it's something we can't do, we'll give them a recommendation who they can go to. But it's great information. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So it's very useful for the average Joe on the street that doesn't do this for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
anything else? What else do you have to add?
I think the other thing with real estate right now is patience. The process is more difficult than a lot of people understand, and I think that is something that's key early on. That you're going to be asked a million questions, and some of it is very personal, but there's reasons why all of this information has to be told, and don't fight the system. Go along with it and be tenacious is the word I'll use, and getting to the finish line. So patience is definitely a virtue when it comes to real estate.
That's so good. That's so
Yeah,
good. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate it. I look forward to working with you again soon. We have several listings that we have with you right now that we're working on getting sold, and we appreciate all your help. And I'm gonna put your phone number on here, or your email address on here, if that's all right.
that's
And
great.
if anyone needs help with their home portability, homestead exemption, anything, give Mark and his team a call. Innovative Title Service in Altamonte Springs. They're amazing. We love them. We appreciate them. Thanks again, Mark.
Right back at you, Jonathan. We love the Cole team. You guys are the best, and
Thank you.
appreciate all that you do for us. So thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
Okay, thanks.